Alright, well today we're trying to figure out why our Escalade stalled out the other day when it come off its cold start. As soon as it went down to its idle, it shut off. I did it the other day, just starting up, coming out to the first stop sign, and it just cut off. And what it does is you try to start it back and it just cranks for a while. Turn it off, cycle it a couple times, and it'll start back, and then it doesn't seem to cause any problem. So I'm trying to see what's going on with what part of this ignition or fuel or what is not working. So what I did is I got my fuel pressure gauge set up here, right here on top, and so we're going to check the fuel pressure. And I actually primed it just to make sure that it's not leaking. But then down here at the bottom, what I got is one of these little battery tender cheap $6 things from Harbor Freight. And what you can do is cut the end of it off and put the probes into the injector wires, so we can see if it's injecting fuel, if we have fuel pressure. And then also I got one of those little inline spark things, also from the cheap store, and we can watch our sparks. What we should be able to see is this light up every time the injector pulses, this lights up every time the spark sparks, and then we can also monitor our fuel pressure just to make sure that we got constant fuel pressure. So that's going to help us rule out some things. So if when it dies, if we're still sparking and we're still injecting and we still have pressure, then it's going to be something mechanical, more like with not getting enough air or something like that. But if we lose our spark or we lose our injection, then that's going to tell us that the system is shutting it off for some reason. So this will get us started to understand exactly what may be going on with this vehicle. So I'm going to fire it up and we're just going to sit and watch. Usually it takes a few minutes, but I'll edit all that out, and we'll just leave the camera running and sit here and watch and see how long it takes for it to cut off. So hopefully we'll see the little lights blinking and the pressure go up. Alright, so we're running. You can see us blinking. What we're going to do is watch. You can also see the fuel pressure up there dittering. Can't really see the gauge, but we're running right around 57 psi. And we're blinking along really good on our ignition and also on our spark. So we're just going to sit here and watch it. And when this engine, if it decides to shut off this time, then we're going to see which one gives out. Okay, now our fuel pressure is down to about 40, so it dropped off as the idle's dropping. And there it went. She died. It made a pop, 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 and then it cut off. But our pressure's still holding at 40, 42. And we could see that even though it was dying, it was still sparking. So something's gone wrong mechanically, and I heard it go pop, pop, pop right at the last. So what I'll do is try to start it back up. Okay, so just a second ago it did it again. And they just pop, 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 and the motor almost died. But that popping sounds a whole lot like that purge valve up on top. Sounds like it's coming from right up here. What I'm going to do is disconnect that purge valve. Okay, so without the purge valve running, it really doesn't like it. Now the engine's just barely loping. So when I reconnect the purge valve, as soon as I reconnected it, it went pop, 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 pop. I believe I got a bad purge valve is what's stalling this motor out. As soon as it comes down off of its warm-up cycle and tries to evacuate with the purge valve, something's wrong with that purge valve and it's shutting the motor down. Alright, well maybe this will help somebody diagnose this issue. But like I say, all you need is one of those little battery tender things that you can get at Harbor Freight. It's got the clips to clip your battery. It's one of those little cheap tenders. What's cool about it is it's got that LED to tell you when 12 volts is running through it. So I just cut the end of it off that goes to the wall, and then took the other end and put some wires on it and just some needles, tie right into the injector so I can watch the injector fire. And then this is just a standard spark plug checker. So between those two, you can see if you have injection and you can see if you have spark. So it turns out we're just losing our air fuel mix installing this motor out. So we'll see if we can get that repaired. All right, so we got our new little purge valve from the store. This one's got a limited lifetime warranty on it. So here's our little purge valve. But it's real simple to take off and put back on. It just sits on a little clip, and it's got the electrical connector and then the two hoses. The hardest part of the whole thing is figuring out how to get the stupid little clips loose. So right here on the end of this little hose, you can see is a clip. You have to reach under the bottom of it and pull up on the little tab, and it'll let it free. So that one's the one you put on first. So just click it on. Like I say, there's a little tab release right up under the bottom there. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but right there. And to get it off, you push that and it opens up the catch. You can take it off. So that one goes on, and then you put it down inside of there and clip it onto the little frame that it sits on. And all you do is hook up the other pipe connector. That one's easy to get off. And then you hook up the electrical connector and you're done. So super simple. So now what we're going to do is start her up and let it go through its cycle and see if this time the little valve does what it's supposed to do. Alright, so this time when it came all the way down, you don't hear that loud ticking sound that other purge valve was making, and the idle dropped right down like it was supposed to. And it wasn't throwing any codes because I guess the valve thought it was working, but it was just letting the fuel come through and flooding it out. So we're going to diagnose why that valve went bad. So I'm going to head into the shop here and take it apart, and we're going to see just what goes on inside that little purge. So we'll be back here in just a minute. Alright, so this is our broken valve, and we wanted to see what's going on inside of you. So I cracked the glue open on it, and as you can see, if I open it up, it's basically just a seal right here, and then this little piston goes in and out when it tells it to open and close the valve, and then all you have is the little seal piston, and then you have a spring, and then you have the little solenoid. So all it does is just energizes and makes it pulse back and forth, and it opens and closes the valve. So what looks like went wrong, if I put it back together, is that this is kind of loose inside of there. You can see that it's just real wiggly, and so what I'm suspecting is that when it first energizes the little purge valve and it pops back to open up, it's so loose that it was catching right there on that lip, and so instead of closing back real quick and metering how much gas fume comes out of the tank, then what it was doing is catching on this edge, and so it wasn't closing back. So basically a big wash of gas fume came out of the tank into the intake and basically flooded the motor and shut it off. And so that's why it was difficult to start back. When you restarted it, it would take quite a few times to start back because the motor was flooded. And when the motor tried to start, it'd probably jiggle it, go ahead and get it seated back, and then it would start back up. So that's why it was kind of erratic whether or not it would start back quick or start back after sitting for a while. So I would suspect that's the problem, is this cheap little seal right there doesn't get back into its center, and so it just got stuck open right on it, because I can do it with my finger, get it stuck open on the edge, and that was just flooding the engine out. So I think that was our problem. So we'll switch out to this new one and maybe put one in the glove box just in case it does it again, because they seem like they're made pretty cheap, and then we'll go from there. Alrighty, well, thanks for watching.